Welcome back, everyone. A different kind of Take 3 this morning. We'll be joined by London Mitchell from Cumulus Radio in just a minute. But first, this past week, about 6-7 days ago, Alfre Woodard, the award-winning actress of movies and television, came to Northwest Ohio to push for early voting and for Barack Obama. I talked with her about that and other issues related to the campaign. And here's our conversation with award-winning actress Alfre Woodard.
Lee, I tell you, I have been involved with elections since I was 10 years old. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I used to precinct walk with my parents. And it was this great time in the community where everybody turns out and you're knocking on doors, you're talking to neighbors. You're actually seeing neighbors having conversations and you've never had a conversation with them. So it was a way to get to know your community as well. And I remember people actually getting the right to vote for the first time in Oklahoma and in Texas. And so it was a celebratory thing. That's what citizenship was. And so I don't sit out elections where they are. And as I got some notoriety, and because I also usually we work around the country, and I usually work in towns of less than 100,000 people. We're on location shooting, so I'm living in spaces, getting to know people. And I feel like, you know, the whole country is my community. So my being in Ohio is an extension of that, wanting to come and cheer you guys on and let you know that, you know, how much power you have in your hands right now.
It's really incredible what all this has come down to. It's amazing. And now here we are getting very close. So you're out there pressing the flesh all the time when you're just doing your job.
Yes.
Are Californians envious at all that it's all coming down to what we hear is the state of Ohio? Envious or thankful that you're not inundated with all the advertising?
Well, as Californians, not just people who have known faces, but regular people that work in all kinds of jobs in California, they pack up every election season and they go back to their home states. They might commit to go to Nevada or Colorado, New Mexico, or Arizona, because we're that state that, you know, by the time, you know, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, before we can even get to the polls, they usually have called an election. So we're used to going out and participating. So one of the things that has been, you know, tradition, part of life there, is people taking off the time to go to a neighboring state to help knock on doors. Because I think people don't feel like, I know you guys are Ohioans and you take a lot of pride in that, but we don't see ourselves as separate from Ohioans as Americans, because we know that whatever happens in Ohio affects people in North Carolina, people in New Hampshire or New Mexico. So we think of campaigns like this as a way of connecting. So we come across.
Is the country where it is today, where you thought it would be when President Obama was elected 4 years ago? I mean, what's your personal thought on where we are, where we've been the last 4 years?
You know, I thought this unprecedented grassroots movement that fueled Senator Obama to the White House to be President Obama, I thought that we would be a lot further along in some respects, because it was such a group, a really wide network, disparate people, different income levels, different communities and concerns, that he appealed to us and said, we're all in this together. Let's not concentrate on those three things that we may never agree on. We all have 10 needs in common. Let's make progress and push forward on those. And so I thought, you know, that when he got to the White House, that he would have support in the legislative branches.
Here we are, and it's a dead heat. Did you think we'd be in this spot 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
Yes, I thought we would. You know why? I thought that because in the end, there are not a lot of American leaders that have found the language to inspire us to know that we're all in it together and that we listen. So I figured when it came down to it, people would you could present all the facts you want, they're gonna vote, they've decided like it's the Steelers and the Cowboys, and as if it's a football game. So that's why we're having all these conversations to say, no, it's not a football game.
And that is my conversation with Alfre Woodard. She got a little off the beaten path, but we really talked a little bit more about politics and her support for Barack Obama. But just really fascinating to hear her call to action, London Mitchell, as a political activist coming from California and feeling the need to come to Ohio. It's interesting. It is Ohio that
it's
she
Ohio.
came to.
It's Ohio, and it's Ohio that you keep hearing over and over. Ohio is in the center of the country. We have this melting pot of people. We have the urban areas that are strong Democrat, the suburban areas that are stronger Republican. So we really have a mix, and it could be the swing state.
And, the old bellwether, we were hearing that, the microcosm, whatever you want to call it. So you have Alfre Woodard, you have Bruce Springsteen stumping for the president. Here in Ohio,
and don't forget Meatloaf.
Well, that's how I was going to go. Meatloaf on Thursday night, and you had Randy Owen from Alabama, and you also had John Rich of Big and Rich, who was out with Mitt Romney at that huge rally in Defiance on Thursday night. So now you have this campaign really coming to a crescendo. Barack Obama does his cross-country and back, 4,000-mile journey, and Mitt Romney really, as he said, he told that crowd of thousands of people at Defiance High School, the football field there, that he feels the momentum, and it was a raucous event on Thursday night.
It is, and you know, the interesting thing is we talk about momentum as it goes back and forth, and how important were those debates? And I think
crucial.
I think they really were.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm talking to a lot of people as I go out about the debate, and it's gone on for so long. So many of the people have already made up their minds, and now they're kind of moving away. They're not thinking about it anymore. They've already voted, and we've had what, 800,000 requests for absentee ballots in this state?
Well, I was going to ask you about that. You wake up awfully early in the morning to go to K100 and deliver the news and the other Cumulus stations that you're on. And this is interesting because we're here late on November 6th. And I have this feeling, this haunting feeling, that we won't know. We're not going to know. Late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And you talk about the absentee ballots may become provisional ballots, right?
That's right, because if you ask for an absentee ballot, my understanding is if you don't use it, you have to file provisional so the officials can check to make sure you haven't voted twice. And all that checking could mean we could be well into November before we have any kind of accurate total.
Wow, and then it's a case of here we go again. Maybe not hanging chads. I don't think we use those anymore, but it could be a provisional ballot mess down the road.
It
really
could be, and I don't know that I've seen any real published explanation as to how we are going to process all the provisional ballots and all the absentee ballots. So I think we could be a long way into. We're not going to get. I don't think it's going to be an early night for you on November 6th.
The call is not going to be made at 8:30 on Tuesday evening, just as the polls. Well, the polls won't even be closed in California at that time.
I don't think so.
And as part of the deal, Alfre Woodard says, "Hey, we're left out. We don't want to be left out of this thing." So let's bring it back here locally. We had Margaret Danziger from the library and Scott Carpenter from the Metro Parks, and we know there are tremendous organizations in this area, London, but there are so many that need new money right now. And maybe you look at it individually and say, well, that's not a lot of money. But if you're on a fixed income and you can't spend anymore, this is a tough
and I think so many of the issues on the ballot, and if you live in the city of Toledo, I think there are 7 money issues, significant money issues on the ballot. I think that it really is going to be a reflection of the quality of life and what the electorate really is going to project for us as to what the community wants, what kind of quality of life we have. Because when you stop to think, we've got mental health and recovery services, there's children's services, the library,
and
the
TPS,
Metro Parks, the Toledo
City
schools,
Parks as well.
the recreation levy in Toledo, also one in Sylvania, a recreation levy.
And there's TARTA out in Sylvania.
And Spencer Township, that TARTA
Right,
opt-out.
right, the opt-out.
Yeah, and that too is a reflection of what is the community saying to the people that really depend on public transportation, people with disabilities, the elderly, people who can't afford to have their own cars. Right. They depend on that public transportation to get to work, to get to the doctor, to
what is
socialize.
Critical for one person certainly is different for another.
And how much are the taxpayers willing to put out for maybe things they don't use? They don't come into contact with the mental health system, or they don't ride TARDA, but are they still willing to pay extra taxes for those? And I think that's going to be a reflection on the community. Does the community say yes to everything, or are we going to pick and choose?
Yeah, it's good perspective. I mean,
that is going to be, I think, a major reflection on this community come November 6th.
They're all quality of life issues. They really are. But it's perspective and priority.
And some of those are, we're talking about major jewels for this community, bragging point. The Metro Parks, the library, we're all very proud of those institutions.
But some people say, I have to cut somewhere, right? And it's a matter of choosing where can you cut if you have to.
You really have to take the time. I think the responsible voter takes the time to look at the issues and really understand where the money's going to be spent, what's being asked for.
All right, well said. London Mitchell, thank you. We'll see you next week, back for the pre-election special on Conklin and Company. Make it a tremendous Sunday, everybody. We'll see you next week.